Hi, I'm Dan Cortopassi. Today I'm reviewing an HO scale modernized F40PH locomotive from Rapido trains. My example is decorated as Amtrak Unit 229. This model is available in two versions. The MSRP for the DCC Ready model is $199.95. The MSRP for the version with LoCSound DCC and sound installed is $299.95. I paid $259.99 for the sound-equipped version on eBay, though if I'd been a little quicker I could have gotten a slightly better price from a different online retailer. Unfortunately, they sold out before I got there. We'll start the model at 100 possible points. The model comes in a sturdy cardboard box. Inside the box is a decal sheet with small stencils, exploded view drawings, and an operator's manual. A clear two-piece plastic cradle protects the model. The outer sleeve slips off and then the inner piece can be opened. This is a really good box that provides excellent protection for storage and transport. The manual has instructions for the NPCU version of this model on one side and for the F40PH version on the other. The manual covers how to operate both the DC and DCC versions of the locomotive and has Rapido's usual dose of humor thrown in. I especially wanted a model of Amtrak 229 as this engine often operated in California, and my father took a picture of it on a trip to San Diego in the late 1970s when it was still in Phase 2 paint. Detail-wise, Rapido's version best represents the locomotive as it appeared in the mid to late 1990s. I found some photos of the real 229 from that period, and by 1994 it had ditch lights as depicted on the model. In a photo from 1991, they had not yet been installed. In photos from 1994 and later when the engine had ditch lights, there's a white stripe along the bottom edge of the car body. The paint job on the model doesn't have this. It's more correct for the engine as it appeared in 1991 when it didn't have ditch lights. There are also some tiny stencils on the prototype that are not present on the model. The decal sheet that comes with the model has both the stencils and the white striping, so modelers wishing to correct these issues can do so. This is a little less convenient than having everything already done out of the box, but since Rapido provided a fix, I'm not going to take any points. The paint on the model is opaque and thin enough not to obscure detail. Under magnification, the separation line between the black and silver is slightly fuzzy in spots, but this isn't really noticeable when looking at the model on a layout. The red, white, and blue striping is crisp, and I only found a few tiny voids around some of the panel seams and hinge details. Again, when viewing the model casually, these things aren't really noticeable. The A in Amtrak on the front of the engine is silver at the top. This could pass as weathering, though the prototype engine didn't look like this in 1996. This could be fixed with third-party decals, but it's still a defect, so I'm taking 5 points. On the sides, the model has nicely rendered panel detail, freestanding grabs, and see-through photo-etched radiator grills. The dynamic brake and inertial filter grills are molded into the body, but are also see-through. The side windows are flush-mounted with gasket detail and look really nice. The cab has a detailed interior. There's good plumbing and fuel filler detail below the sill. The trucks have brake lines. In front, the model has more freestanding grab irons and separately applied windshield wipers. I really like how the number boards have the numbers mounted behind the clear glazing rather than on the front, making them look more like real number boards behind glass. This is something I do when I build my own diesels, and I think it looks really good. The plow appears to match prototype photos. There are uncoupling levers in there, but they're hard to see. The sand filler hatches are separate parts. The air conditioner and the antenna detail on the roof look really good. The air horn fell off my model at some point, so I'll need to glue that back on. That might have been my fault, so I'm not deducting any points. In back, the model has tread detail on the walkway. The handrails are plastic. On my model, they're leaning slightly inward toward the body, though this isn't too noticeable. The pilots on both ends have hose detail, though some of the hoses look too thick in cross-section. The air hose in the back sticks out beyond the coupler. It is somewhat flexible, so this probably won't cause any issues when coupled to other equipment. On top, the model has freestanding lift rings. The fans are see-through and have separate blade detail inside. This is a little hard to see since the blades are black. Underneath, the engine has good air reservoir detail. All 4 axles are powered and all 8 wheels pick up current. The model has KD number 5 or similar knuckle couplers on both ends. The coupler in front is at the correct height. The coupler in the back is high, so I'm taking 5 points. The wheels are engaged, but the flanges are slightly too wide to fit the NMRA gauge. There's a small chance that this might cause issues when running on track built to very tight NMRA specs. Again, I don't think this is worth a deduction, but it is worth noting. There's no body wobble. The engine weighs 16.2 ounces. Pulling power peaked at 3.3 ounces when I tested it with my force gauge. Many HO scale diesels pull about 2.5 ounces, so this model has plenty of power, especially for passenger service. The number boards are on by default, but can be turned off with F16 on a DCC controller. The front headlight is activated with F0 and stays on regardless of which direction the locomotive is running. F6 turns on the ditch lights, and these flash when the horn sounds, which is correct for Amtrak. F9 activates the front marker lights. F10 turns on the strobe lights. The red emergency light does not appear to operate. The rear headlight turns on and off with F12. The rear marker lights also don't seem to function. Personally, I don't like non-functional lights, but I also know that Rapido has done a lot with a decoder that has 6 lighting outputs on an engine that has quite a few more lights than that. F8 turns on the sound. F2 sounds the horn and F1 rings the bell. The engine starts and runs very smoothly. I'm running it here without the HEP mode turned on, and it behaves like any other engine. The engine also has really cool lights under the sill, which look really good when it's running in the dark. F4 turns on HEP mode in standby, which makes the prime mover noise rev, but prevents the locomotive from moving. Hitting F5 puts the locomotive in run mode, and it will then respond to the throttle. In fact, F5 can be used as a kind of brake if you have momentum programmed into the locomotive. This manual explains how to disable this feature by reprogramming certain CVs if you don't like it. The decoder has some other sounds as well that can be activated with various function keys. Let's take a look at what we've got. The A in the Amtrak on the front of the engine is not entirely filled in, so I took 5 points in the paint and detail category. The rear coupler is high, so I took 5 points in the standards and operation category. That leaves us with a total of 90 out of 100 possible points, which would be an A- on a report card. This is a really nice model, and it deserves a green signal. This is a really nice locomotive. If you need some 1990s vintage Amtrak power, I wouldn't hesitate to recommend it.